So I know we did just pass the 1 year anniversary of the release of Sinner and Saint. And looking at everything, it's had such a like amazing reaction so far. How does it feel kind of looking at everything a year later?
Um, I'm super proud of the progress that it's made and the reaction that the EP in its entirety has gotten. It's been nothing but like positive feedback, and I'm like
Mhm.
super grateful for that because it's kind of obviously when you release an EP, you're kind of like jumping into cold water, holding your breath, hoping that people love it. And the fact
Mhm.
that it was my first release and people did love it, I was like, okay, good. I did something right.
Awesome. Okay. And I've listened to it a bunch of times and it is so good.
Yeah,
I understand why
thank you.
everybody is like obsessed with it.
Oh, that makes me so happy. Thank you. I really appreciate it.
Of course. The EP does seem to have this kind of overall theme of the battle between good and evil and relating to a lot of struggles that people can understand on a more personal level. Did you have this in mind when you were writing it and putting it together, or is that just what happened naturally?
That's definitely what I had in mind when I was putting it together. The first song that I wrote off the EP was actually Sinner and Saint, and I was actually working a 9 to 5 sitting at a desk, and I just went through a really shitty breakup situation, and I just started writing, and just the whole song just like spewed out in like an hour, and then from that it just kind of stemmed down to like Self Sabotage and Dominate and Lost Soul, and the whole EP was created with like me just battling like these inner demons and just there is good in everyone, but I do think everyone does have a bad side. It just like depends on how people want to portray that to other people.
I think that's also really displayed well because you have this sort of very feminine voice as the main sound in your songs, and you have this very dark, like male kind of background vocals. So I think that definitely sort of shows that good and evil balance in there, definitely very well.
Yeah, and that's what we wanted when me and my producer Clint Fowler we wrote the song together. He's like, I think we should throw screams in this. Like, I think it's needed, and I was like, hell yeah, let's do it. Like, it's definitely my like hardest song on the EP.
For sure.
And I think just like the duality of that like really pretty vocal with these like beautiful melodies and harmonies, but then you have like that growl kind of scream in the back. This song really like sells itself.
Definitely. And I know you had one single that came out at I think the end of 2019, so right before the pandemic hit and everything. Did COVID have any sort of impact on the production of your EP?
Oh, 100%. I was like going crazy. I was like, I need this EP out now. Like we had so many tentative dates that the EP was supposed to drop. Like, and then once COVID happened, I was like, okay, well, all right, I guess we're just gonna take more time. But I'm honestly so happy like that we didn't release it all those other times that we were supposed to, because me and my producer Clint Fowler, we went back in and we like tweaked everything, and I re-sang some stuff and we changed melodies, and I'm really grateful for the period of COVID because it gave me time to like really reflect and just go back and take my time. Like sometimes I tend to be very impulsive, and I just like want things out, especially because it was my first EP and I only had my single The Darkness of Your Heart prior to the EP. So I'm like, I just need to release some kind of music and I just want to do it now.
Mhm.
And now I'm just like reminded like it's quality versus quantity. Like, and I'm so happy we took the time. And, but yeah, it definitely had a crazy effect, but in a positive way at the end of the day.
For sure. I'm sure a lot of the like intricacies of the songs maybe wouldn't have been there if you hadn't had the time to go back and tweak everything. So probably for the
Yeah,
best.
100%.
I know you mentioned that that was sort of a stressful or like time of turmoil for you. Do you find that maybe songwriting and performing is kind of a therapeutic thing or any sort of stress relief for you?
Oh, 100%. I mean, I think since the day I started singing, like, I don't know, I came out of my mother's stomach screaming. I was like the loudest baby in the nursery. So my mom always used to say, like, that voice is going to be for something. Um, yeah, I actually find like my darkest times is when I write the most like beautiful music, and it's so therapeutic. Like when I'm writing in my writing process, it's like therapy for me. It's healing. And then performing it on stage and really giving people that kind of like moment into my brain on how it affects me and portraying it onto my audience, like
Right.
it's the best feeling. It's the
Mhm.
best feeling.
For sure. Your sound right now is definitely, I'd say it has a lot of notes of like that symphonic metal and kind of gothic hard rock. It's like a combination of a bunch of subgenres, and you experiment really well with a lot of areas. I know you had a background in like musical theater, and you even have like some like Kelly Clarkson covers on YouTube. So obviously your sound is kind of evolved and changed over time. How
Yeah.
would you maybe describe your musical background and how it's gotten you to where you are now?
I mean, obviously, yeah, I started in musical theater, so like I found a home on the stage and just like loved the feeling of that. And it was about when I was like 14, 15. I was like, you know what? Like I want to start writing my own music. And that was that phase of like Pink, Avril Lavigne, like Christina Aguilera and Kelly Clarkson. And I always just like was so driven towards those musicians because I felt like I could sing their music and I sounded like them. So I always resonated really well with them. And then when I was about 16, I went towards this more like pop rock area.
Okay.
Um it was just more pop with like hints of like, hey, here's a guitar and like, this is cute.
Mhm.
And as time went on, I mean, I obviously moved to Los Angeles 4 years ago, and I went through 5 managers in the first month that I moved here,
My goodness.
which is like insane. But they were all trying to make me like hip hop and R&B.
Okay.
And I was like, okay, but I tried. Like, I'm up for a challenge. So I
Right.
tried. And I'm like, something's not hitting me. This is not me. Like, I want to dive more into that rock alternative. It's a little bit more on the down low because on that time it's not, it wasn't as big as it is like now.
Right.
Um, and it wasn't really until I met Clint that I was like, hey, I have all these songs, I have all these ideas. And he's like, well, let's put music to them. And that's just kind of how everything started.
That's awesome. I love that. I think that a bunch of people sort of experience that evolution of at least the music that they listen to from a young age to adulthood. And so I think that your kind of music journey definitely represents that on a more tangible level than most people probably get to experience. So very cool.
Yeah.
Do you think the sound that you have now is what you're gonna stick with, or are you looking to experiment a little bit more?
I'm an open book, so I'm always open to
I
explore.
like that.
Um, Definitely the newer music that I am working on right now, there's two songs that I'm kind of back and forth with. They are definitely more towards that self-sabotage, heavier sounding kind of gear.
Mhm.
But I mean, like, I love experimenting with like, the industrial, like goth rock sound. And like, even in Bloodless, we have like these like not bongos, but like it's like this Indian kind of sound. So it's kind of like I let the song kind of like bring itself to life, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Where if something fits and it sounds cool and it sounds unique and different and dynamic, I'm all for it.
Do you come up with the words and like write the song first before you figure out maybe what sound elements you're gonna bring into it, or do you kind of is it reverse? How is it for you?
It kind of goes it can go both ways. Like for example, when I wrote The Darkness of Your Heart, I wrote all the lyrics and I just had this melody in my head and I was like, here, Clint, put music to it. And that's what he did. And that's how Sinner and Saint went. That's how Lost Soul went. Bloodless went. I think Dominate and Self Sabotage were the only ones that we like kind of had the music before and
Mhm.
then we fit the lyrics to it after is kind of how it worked. So it just depends like how I'm feeling and what comes to my mind. I also write at really weird hours. Like I don't have this like particular time that I sit down and I'm like, okay, I'm gonna write a song today. It just like I could be in the grocery store or on the treadmill working out and I'll be like, oh wait, there's something in my mind and I need to just jot it down. It's kind of like how it works with me.
Awesome. The videos that you have out right now are already like incredibly visually stunning. So, how important would you say that the visuals are to conveying the message that you're wanting to get out? And visuals could be like a video or the artwork or even like future stage setup type things.
It's extremely important to me, especially like with my theater background. Like I'm used to a production, a
Right.
performance. it's a whole thing. It's got to be a whole big thing in my mind. I
Mhm.
don't care how big my stage is. I don't care how small my stage is. And especially like with the music videos too and the visuals, like I want my audience to feel what I'm feeling and what I'm seeing in my brain. And I feel like it's been executed really well with Self-Sabotage and Dominate.
Mhm.
And then even in just like performing too, I have dancers and I have a full band and there's cool wardrobe changes and props, and I want it to be very theatrical because that's just the person that I am.
Right. What has that been like for you? Because I'm sure you haven't always had such a big kind of ensemble of people with you to convey the message for you or with you, like a dancers or a band or anything like that. So what has that kind of change and shift into that been like?
It's been overwhelming, but in like the best way. I actually like recently just put my band together, and being able to say that like I have musicians now that like love the music and they're like so ready to play shows, it definitely warms my heart because it's something I've always wanted, and I've actually just never had a band. It's always just been me. Um, so it feels good because I feel like my voice is getting louder and louder, and now there's other people behind me supporting me with that voice becoming louder. It's not just me anymore. So it's a really overwhelming feeling, but like in the best way.
Mhm. When it comes to making videos, at least for the ones that you've had out so far, what is that process like for you, like from start to finish? Is it storyboards or meeting with other people? What do you like to do?
Well, as far as Dominate and Self-Sabotage, Nikki Carmela, who's like a sister to me, we've been best friends for 20 years. I'll come to her with something and she'll come to me with something, and we'll kind of just sit and like squish our ideas together. And, she goes in deep and like does the whole storyboard and the timeline and, the shot list, and we just bring everything to life in such an organized way, and it's great. She's always been the one to really help get my vision across, and it's also an outlet for her too, so it's definitely like a win-win situation.
Right. When you were going into it, at least when you were developing the EP, did you know what videos you wanted to put out, or was it kind of you put out the EP and then decided which ones you wanted to do?
I had no idea. I mean, it's me and I think big, so I'm like, I want to do a video for every song.
Right.
Obviously that's not going to happen. We definitely went with Dominate first,
Mhm.
because I did put it out as a single before
Right.
the EP did drop,
Mhm.
and I Dominate was definitely a very important song to me, showing that alpha female. We live in such like a male driven world right now that I really wanted to like nip that in the butt and show that like women can be alphas and they are in control of their mind, body, and soul. And that was definitely the first one that hit me, that I was like, okay, we need to do like a crazy video for Dominate. And then obviously it's been a year since I put out the EP, but I woke up one morning and I was like, I have this idea and I think we should do a music video for Self-Sabotage. Literally, that's how it happened. Like, I walked out of my room and I was like, I need to do a music video for Self-Sabotage. It has to happen before I move on to new music.
Mhm.
And Nikki was like, okay, let's do it. And we just kind of put everything together. And the original idea that, the idea that was for Self-Sabotage was originally meant for a different song that I was actually writing that fell through. But the idea fits so well with Self-Sabotage also that I was like, screw it, let's just do it for Self-Sabotage. So,
What inspired self-sabotage? Was it any sort of specific personal experiences or?
oh, 100%. When I started writing Self-Sabotage, I was just going through this phase again of just like battling inner demons and just like my inner bad thoughts. And I just kept doing this thing. I just kept sabotaging everything that was good in my life. More my relationships than like friendships or anything like that.
Right.
And I just wanted to spew that out and just like let people know like they're not alone. Like, we all self-sabotage in some kind of way at some point of our life.
Mhm.
um and I really, that was a song I really really wanted people to connect with and understand how I was feeling in that moment. And the best thing too is like when I put out my music, I have my own story, but I want my fans to create their own story. I could write Lost Soul and feel something completely different than maybe, Joe Schmo feels about my song. But I love that because I want people to keep creating stories to my music. That's the art of it.
I think especially since you base it on your own personal experiences, it lets people be able to connect with it on a more personal level. Even if their experiences, like you said, aren't exactly what you went through, it still has lyrics that connect to whatever it is that they might be going through. So I like it.
100%.
How would you describe your music to somebody who hasn't heard of it yet?
I feel like the two words that people have been really kind of like throwing out there is like beautifully haunting.
I like that.
Definitely gets your blood boiling. It takes you on a roller coaster that like you don't want to get off on. Um, it's definitely a wave in my mind, especially the way like the EP flows. You have like these ups and these downs and these ups, but that's the whole message I was trying to portray the whole time was there's this duality of, good and evil. So I think people get mostly like there's this hard rock sound, but like these beautiful, lyrics and these beautiful melodies and harmonies. So I don't know, it's like a mash of like this hard but soft kind of squished together.
For sure. I after listening to it, I definitely would agree with that it's sort of beautifully haunting. It does have aspects of a bunch of different genres, so it's not easy to put into any specific box.
Yeah, that's why I'm just like, I like struggle with that question sometimes because I'm like, it's rock, it's metal, but it's like melodic, and then there's industrial wave. It's kind of just like a plethora of like a bunch of things.
Yeah, definitely. But I mean, hard to describe means it has to at least be unique, right?
Correct, and that's what I was aiming for. So
I know you mentioned that it's important to you that fans can connect with lyrics in the songs that you're putting out. Do you think it's important that you just personally stay active and connected to your fans?
yeah, I do think it is important. I also think it is important to like have that barrier of like your personal life, is kind of your own. And I'm realizing the more people hear my music and, the more I slowly get out there, I do have to keep like this like certain part of my life a little bit more on the DL. But I'm such an open book. Like I love talking to fans, talking to people, answering questions. Like I just love that people are interested in the music and the creation and the process. So yeah, I think it's very important to be connected with your fans. I mean, that's what we want as musicians, right? Like we're doing it for ourselves because it's our passion and we love it, but it's also for all the people out there.
Right, of course. I do have to ask why you picked music, like how you fell in love with it, and was there any sort of specific moment that made you realize you really wanted to do it as a career?
Again, I started in musical theater when I was like 5, 6,
Mm-hmm.
and being on the stage was what I was good at.
Mm-hmm.
I am not super book smart unless I like really apply myself.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know, I just come alive when I'm on the stage. So I definitely think theater was the foundation and the opening for my whole musical journey. 100%. I don't think I would be the musician I am today if I didn't have that theater background for
Right.
all those years that I did it.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it really was when I was like, Mom, I want to start like writing my own music. And I found a producer, in South Florida, and went in the studio, and I was like, I love this. This is what I'm good at. This is what people like to see me do. And I think it was like that reaction back too of like, you're really good. Like you should do this as a career.
Okay.
So it's always just been there. There's never really been a moment that I was like, I'm gonna do this. It's always been music.
Right. I'm sure that sort of response to it definitely helped kind of push you into it a little bit further, maybe in a way that you wouldn't have been able to do yourself or without that sort of feedback.
Yeah.
Um, Obviously you have a very awesome, I love it, cool and unique style. I did want to ask if you had a favorite tattoo that you have.
Ah, my throat piece.
I love that one.
My throat piece is, I mean, I'm pretty covered,
Mhm.
but my throat piece is the most recent. I think I did it like 5 months ago, 6 months ago, but I definitely got it for just like myself, just like things that was going through and things that I accomplished.
Mhm.
And it just means the most to me. And I just think it's so beautiful. It's just
I
my
love
favorite.
that. I love that
Thank
it's your
you.
favorite and it's probably the first one that people see like when they look at you. So,
Yeah.
love that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, you, at least in my opinion, and I think many other people, you are such a great example and role model for other women and maybe young girls who are looking to chase their dreams. Um, did you yourself have any mentors or musical inspirations growing up?
Well, first off, thank you. That means a lot. So I love that. Thank you. Um, it really just goes back to Pink. I don't know. I just related a like female to female wise, like in that younger age of like 12 and 13. I mean, I listened to like rock music too. Like I was an MCR fan. I was the complete scene kid. My hair was black, and I did the
Yeah.
whole thing. But I just always related to her music, and I just feel like family wise at that time I was going through a lot that related to the music that she was putting out, and she really was just such an inspiration when I was little. That I feel like that definitely was one musician that always drives me to just like be myself. Like she was a rebel. That was kind of rare at that time, like so yeah, she definitely was the one that kind of was like just do whatever the hell you want.
Mhm. Definitely. I definitely was obsessed with Pink growing up, so I totally understand that.
She's a Virgo. She's a Virgo
She is?
also. Yeah,
I had no idea.
I think her birthday's like September 8th or 9th or something. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah. So I'm like, okay, and you're a Virgo, like,
yeah,
yeah, forget about it.
absolutely. You have that show at the Viper Room in November. Um, so exciting, first of all. What could you tell us about the show or any other upcoming shows for the rest of the year or maybe even into the new year?
Yeah, so I am doing actually my first show at the Viper Room November 3rd in Los Angeles, California. I'm beyond excited. I'm super excited. I'm also just like super proud of myself because I remember like 4 months before I got booked for the Viper Room, I was like, I am booking a show for August to the end of the year. I don't care where it is. I need to do a freaking show. It's going to happen. And I went on this like crazy spree of like, hey, my name's Lexi Layne. Like, do you want to book? Like, I reached out to everyone and the Viper Room just bit. And I was like, for my first show, that's not too bad. I'm not going to
Incredible.
complain at all. Yeah.
So many like
So, and
so many big people have played there. Like that's crazy,
yeah.
especially for your first show that's where it's at. Amazing.
And it's kind of funny to me because it comes full circle. In 2019, I actually went to the Viper Room and did something that they call the Sunset Jam. So
Okay.
literally, like you just like rehearse these songs that like these people send you, and you get up on stage and you just sing them with no practice at all. So I did that in 2019, and I sang a Halsey song and an Evanescence song, and that was the first time I ever performed at the Viper Room. So it's funny how it comes full circle that now my first show is back at the Viper Room. It's a very like bittersweet, like very nostalgic kind of feeling. But yeah, it's gonna be awesome. And then I found out a couple weeks ago that they're making me headliner now. Yeah, so I was originally opening. I was supposed to go on at 8 o'clock, and I was like, okay, that's fine. It's my first show. Like, I'm a humble piece of pie. I'm good. And then I got a message. They're like, hey, we're just waiting for approval, but like, we want you to headline. And I was like, oh, this is amazing.
So
This is
exciting.
amazing.
I love that.
Yeah, so I'm stoked. It's gonna be a production. I have two dancers, I have my full band, and I'm just super excited to bring the EP to life because I feel like the EP has just been like waiting, and now it can fully be, released. And then yeah, I'm working on a show for February as well. February or March. It's tentative right now, so when I have those details, I'll release that.
Awesome. Love that. That's so exciting. I'm so happy for you.
Thank you.
Course. Okay. where can people keep up with you? Social medias, what do you like to be active on? And is there anything else that you wanted to add or say to the fans?
So I'm definitely the most active on Instagram because I feel like that's where everyone really goes. So my Instagram is Lexi_Layne. And then from that, if you click the link in my bio, you can get tickets to my Viper Room show, also other shows that will be coming up in the future. My TikTok's on there, my Facebook, my YouTube. Yeah, and thank you so much for having me today. You've been a pleasure and such a sweetheart. And I love that you're a Virgo, so it's just been merrier. And yeah, that's pretty much it.
Amazing. Okay, it was wonderful talking to you.